Hey folks, it's Jeremy Kirkland. You're listening to Blamo. How we doing? All right. Have we all fully transitioned into winter, fall gear, whatever you want to call it now? I talked about this on the past few pods, and I was getting, I'd get a few reply guys or DMs, and people would be like, no, man, it's still 80 over here. Like, you're crazy. I'm still in baggies. Or like, okay. But I'm feeling by now, as of November 10th, when this is being released, of 2025, we're all entering a big sweater season, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. No? Whatever. Regardless, I hope you're at least thinking about it, because I spent this weekend doing some fall stuff. I was raking some leaves and went for a little fall run. I'm just trying to slow down before the holidays hit, because people are throwing their trees up. I get it. Everything sucks out there. You want to add a little joy to your life. I get it. It makes sense. But I've been drinking tea in my cozy cardigan, got my old denim on, listening to tunes. Specifically, I feel like usually this time of year I'm like, forget it. Let's hear some good classical. Like, well, let's pump up the Bach. I'm not even kidding. But more specifically, I've been listening to Chris Thile's Bach, the sonatas and partitas. Oh boy. And yes, it's that Chris Thile, the virtuoso musician with the big colorful sweaters, the dude who shreds. You probably know Chris from Nickel Creek, or his solo music, or covers of Elliot Smith and the Strokes, or his work with the Punch Brothers, or even Yo-Yo Ma. Yes, dude did an album with Yo-Yo Ma. It's great. But he's always playing, he's always evolving what the mandolin can do, and when he does it, he really does it. And he's on the pod this week. So, yay. We get into some deep creative talk. We talk about what it means to play Bach, recording clothes, tennis, which I felt a little bad on because, a little bit spoiler. We talk about tennis, and he's like, oh, yeah, man, I've been into tennis for a while. And I had thought he was just, like every other person right now who's into tennis. But homie's been into tennis. So we talk about that. Paul Smith and what's next. It's all in there. Very excited this week. Let's get to it. The Bach stuff, I've gotten to hear Volume 2, which is the new Bach. How do I say it? Is it partitas?
Yeah, partitas.
Partitas.
Sonatas and partitas.
Yeah. Dude, it's emotional.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Dude, it's yeah. So for the record, and I'll say this too for listeners and stuff. Like, I've been a like Thile head from early sort of Nickel Creek stuff to the like, what was it? Waiting for Sunset sort of thing that I would just play.
Raining at Sunset.
Oh, Raining at Sunset. Excuse me. Yeah, goes to show you, some big ass fan can't even get the name right. But yeah.
Oh God, no. The names of instrumental pieces. It's a very theoretical situation.
That's funny. And I played mandolin in I played guitar and sang and was in a kind of wannabe indie rock punk band in New York for a long time. But we also played mandolin. But I picked up mandolin because I was like, dude, Chris Thile's doing it. He's playing dope stuff. So
thank you.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. But Bach, let's get into this, because
let's go. This
is very, very heady, and I think the most highly critical and nerdy, like highly intelligent level of music anyone can get into. Like, this is. You have Bach and Mozart. So talk to me a little bit about what inspired you to be like, yeah, I'll do it again. Let's go again.
I only did the first 3 of the 6. So Bach wrote these 6 just incredible pieces for solo violin. In a way, I kind of feel like they're like the Bible of writing for an instrument tuned in fifths. And so I recorded the first 3 like 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That left 3 more. And I had planned on just, going right back into the studio and getting the last 3 done. And so, kind of putting out Volume 2, in short order after Volume 1. But so many things happened. And then the further away from it I got, the less likely, I guess it seemed to me like I don't know, that's the wrong way to put it. The further away from it I got, the more work it felt like it was going to take to get the next volume out. And the more projects started piling up, and, like your own solo stuff can, there's this sense that, I could do it anytime. And so then you never do it.
Mm.
But I also think I got in my head about it, and I would go to work on it, and get get like the C major sonata all memorized, and then feel like not quite ready for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And then finally, yeah, this last it was last year, Nickel Creek was opening for Casey Musgraves, and we were playing like 30. We had like 30-minute set,
Yeah.
a 30-minute set, and we're used to having
90.
yeah, at least 90.
Yeah.
With encore, sometimes you're coming in just under 2 hours, and there might be a an hour to 2 hour sound check, and then like the VIP thing afterwards, where you're like maybe even playing like a small set for a small group of people, and they're big days.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to work stuff into it, but we saw this tour come up, and I was going like, whoa, okay, so if we sound check, we get like 20 minutes, and then the show's going to be like 35 minutes. There is going to be a lot of extra time, and that is when I can work on the Bach. Like I'll get the Bach all the way there, and then we'll book studio time, and I'll have the deadline that I need and the actual time I need to get this stuff worked up. And I'm always playing Bach. Like it's always part of my life. Like it's always weaseling its way into sets. Like it's so good. I wanna be working on it. So even when the record wasn't bearing down on me, like it's there. Like I'm seeing like, when I do record the C major fugue, how do I want to do it? Or like the chaconne or whatever it is, or
Yeah.
I'll play the D minor giga. It's just such a sprightly little imp of a piece that like that's got to be the encore of a solo set or whatever. It just keeps being a part of my life. It's a practice, like yoga.
Yeah.
It's a living, breathing, growing thing. That's part of why you get in your head about it. It's like the idea of taking a snapshot. Like, here's me playing Bach, when like really me playing Bach is a thing that happens over my whole life. And
Yeah.
it's like it's constantly changing. Like, how do you represent that in a snapshot of it? So that was part of the work of getting it recorded, and then but look, at this is already a really long answer, so
No, this is fantastic. This is good.
I'll get into I have so much I like.
Welcome to
talking about when it comes to
podcasting.
Bach.
Let it rip,
Yeah,
man.
that's true. All right, good. That's true. That is true. How did you get it? Like, so you did Bach too? Like
No
you
way.
know enough to know that it's like in a way, I think so many serious musicians look at his work as kind of the holy grail.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Berkeley music dropout guy. Like, I did the summer program and thought I was hot shit and was like, fuck it, I'm going to play indie rock, and make some real money. But growing up in a studio and growing up all around music and musicians, for them, the kind of like untouchable level sort of 99 that you get to when you made it with everything else and you really want to challenge yourself, you play Bach or you try to understand Mozart. And in many cases, you would go and then try to, analyze these, because there's not a recording of Bach for listeners. There's not like, oh, here's him playing this.
Yeah,
and you can go
exactly.
listen to how it was played. You had the music and you had the notes and the notations, which had quite a bit of, prescription onto it as to how it needed to sound. But it was still the perfect marriage of the performer and the art. And so, people would then go and you'd kind of analyze, well, is this how Yo-Yo Ma does this? Or this is how, and now in your case, you have like, well, this is what, Chris really feels it right here. And there's a little bit more emphasis on that. And whether that's on the, on the sheet music or not, but I think it's the best way to challenge yourself, but also to really kind of, this is pretty easy to fact check. You're already considered the best mandolin player ever. So like, do you see this as your Everest? Like, look, man, all right, let's do Bach. Let's go.
Oh boy. Thank you for that. Let's see it in terms of what's possible on an instrument tuned in fifths. This is, the solo violin music by Bach is definitely, it's an Everest of sorts, I suppose.
Yeah.
But what's the stuff that's hardest about it is it's interesting. It's like, it's not the finger busting aspects of it that are the craziest. It's like figuring out how to I think it's like how to pace it all and how to get how to get it all. I mean, of course, the music like on the page is scintillating. And I love hearing other people play it. But I also, I'm always looking for like forward movement in durational art, like whether it's so music is it's temporal, it's durational. It's like
Yeah.
it starts at one point and it ends at the next, and I want it to hurdle me through that space and time. Like I want to feel like I'm a rock and it's a slingshot,
Mm.
and it just like propels me to the end of the time that it takes. And so much of the work this time for me was making sure that I felt like that while I was listening to it. I take so much delight in the way that it physically feels to play the music, or like you're saying, like the Everest aspect of it is like, look, I can do it,
Yeah.
like, and I take a lot of pride in, I can do it. Like I can, and not just the like, I don't know, like really hitting the triplets in the long arpeggiated section in the chaconne. Not like, that's flashy, and I'm proud I can do it, but like also like the C major fugue is 9 minutes long. And it's a lot of the same kind of stuff. It's a real like feat of memorization, that look, I got all the way through it, and I remember the whole thing.
Yeah, because
And
you're not pulling out sheet music to do this.
and there's well, yeah, no, I play it all from memory just because I feel like that's
That's great.
it's hard to play. It's hard to like play it like it's yours, if you're
Yeah,
if you're
you're right.
reading it, it's like you're supposed to like play and listen to music, not look at it. So I mean, of course, I learn it with the sheet music, but yeah, that I try and get it into me the way that like a fiddle tune is in me, the way my own music is in me. I got to get it in there. And what I realized this time around is that when I really do that at 44, as opposed to 31, I impart more of myself into it now naturally. And when I started the process, you're like in earnest. Like, of course, I've been playing this music since I was 17, 18, and really made my first inroads onto it earlier than that. But I realized last year as I was playing it, getting it in me and like taking the joy and physically being able to do it, mentally being able to do it, that the actual sonic results were leaving me totally unfulfilled.
Mm.
I just felt cold. They felt cold and plodding and just not additive. Like this, I'm not adding to the conversation. I might as well be quiet. Like I just listen to the people whose take on the matter really inspiring me. I was listening to this going like, I don't have a take. It's just the notes. And it's like, they're great notes, they're
How
great
often do you
notes,
do that?
but like, why? Oh, voice memo myself practicing like all the time.
Yeah, but I think the thing you're kind of tugging at is also like doubting yourself.
Oh, doubting myself. Oh, I mean, that's like part of the process. But it's,
You're like, oh yeah,
yeah, you
that's
gotta,
normal.
yeah, you can't just sit there freaking digging yourself, like there's no
Fair.
growth. There's no growth there. I love, it's probably says something about the kind of person I am. I like doing that. I thrive on kind of exposing myself to the weight of my own musical taste.
But
And
you don't stay in it.
and crushing myself with it. Like that sucks.
Yeah.
Self, that sucks. But like I don't get, it's usually I don't get down about it because it's like I'm also giving myself a lot of credit, like that I would know if it sucked or not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like I'm like proud of having taste that I trust about it. But like sometimes there's this two-sided aspect of being a musician, like your ears and your musicianship. Like your ears are everything. Like what can you hear? And it's what can you hear that's actually there, and it's also what can you hear that doesn't exist yet. That's what being a
Mm.
musician is all about. And especially if you write music, or if you're going to interpret someone else's music, you're only limited by what you can imagine. And so you have to be really good at imagining music for that, not to feel like, oh, a really intense limitation. So you're quiet. You're quiet in the practice room or the writing room, and you're imagining sound until it's so real. You're imagining it so clearly and vibrantly and precisely that you can pluck it out of your head and give it to people. Get it out of your head, into your body, out your fingertips, out of your mouth, out of your pen, all of that kind of and onto a record and onto stage. Now that the funny thing about that, when your sort of wishful predictive hearing is developed to that extent, you're also in danger of it covering up what's actually happening. And so then you have to turn all of that off, just like you have to be quiet. Like if you're the kind of person who writes with an instrument in your hands, or constantly humming or whatever it is, just like you have to actually, no, stop. And like, just imagine, because your mind and your heart and your soul and your body are better at your mind and your heart and your soul are better at making music than your body is. Your imagination, like that's what writes good music. That's what like can really like interpret a piece of music in such a way that it's like adding to the conversation.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked to tons and tons of musicians over the years, and I don't think I've heard many people or really anyone make this as spiritual as what you're sounding, in the sense of like there is almost this like conflict between understanding what is inside of you and how you're trying to pull that out of you and onto an actual recording.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this is unique to Bach, or do you speak about this just like as a whole? With
This is for everything. This is for everything. And for me, I actually think I was keeping Bach out of this process. To the detriment of the music making. Like like that. Such was my reverence of Bach that I wasn't allowing myself to like put him through my, like, who am I? Who the fuck is Chris Thile? Like, why do I get to put Bach through my process? It's like Bach is God, and I don't tell God how to do anything.
But he was a dude. He wasn't a god. He was just a guy who he's a guy. Some good stuff.
Yeah. Or he's no less or more God than any of us are.
Touché.
so like, but he is, like, all serious arguments about who the greatest musicians of all time were start after the pole position, because everyone is like, yeah, it was Bach. Like number 2 is where it gets interesting. It sounds like maybe you would put Mozart there. I don't know if I would.
Yeah, no, I'd probably put Chopin, because I don't know.
Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
It's stupid, but go ahead.
There's that's could make a case for lots of people. You could.
Half of my love of music is also arguing about why I love something, only to be proven wrong at some point, where someone's like, but. And then you're like, oh, you threw my entire understanding of music for a tailspin. But I think also more importantly, what you continue to tug at is the fact that it is not just the music part of it. It's the performance, and it's what, this like metamorphosis thing that has to happen to make you feel good enough to be happy with that performance.
Yeah. Just the reality of the music. So there's your ability to imagine it.
Yeah.
And then there's your ability to communicate it. So it's, how do you get that music that you're imagining out into the world? And so that's when there's like this transfer from your inner ear to your outer ear. Like your wishful predictive, sort of sound imagining machine to your actual sound creating machine. And so you have to turn that wishful hearing off and just your real hearing on, and go like, of course you keep the sonic image of what you've imagined in your head. And now you're comparing it to the real sounds that are being made. And sometimes they are very dishearteningly different, and you have to figure out what's wrong. And so that finally happened for me with again, when I write music, that's always been a pretty natural. I've gotten better at this. I've gotten older, but or aspects of it have gotten better. But I had never done that with Bach. I've done it with my music, and I do it anytime I mess with anyone else's music. So like if I cover a Radiohead song, it would go through the same thing. Take it down to the studs. Like I love this piece of music. I want to see what makes it tick. And if while I'm doing that, it happens to come back together in a way that strikes me as different and not less good
Yeah, I mean Johnny Greenwood was a
than the
Bach head.
original. Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Then I might think about putting it in front of people. So like I have a solo cover of True Love Waits that I performed for a while alongside of stuff that I've written and any number of other things. Just because it felt additive to me. It felt different and interesting and so I did it. And that was the result of that process, taking it down to the studs and letting it really kind of come out of me as if it were mine instead of Radiohead's.
And Elliot Smith as well.
And so, yeah, sure. Anything except for Bach. I wouldn't. And why? Because there's some kind of because he seems godlike, I think is why. And I realized as I was listening to voice memos of me practicing this stuff last year on the Casey tour, I finally realized I'm not making this music the way I make all of my music. And that's why it doesn't sound right to me. That's why it doesn't sound authentic. It doesn't sound sincere. It sounds like I'm doing a bit, or like I'm doing an impersonation of someone else. Like I'm speaking with someone else's accent. Like I'm wearing, like when you're little and you like sneak into your dad's closet and put all his clothes on and see what happens. And like that's what those voice memos sounded like to me. And I realized it was because it's very healthy. It's a healthy reverence I have for my heroes, and the Bach reverence, I think, had grown unhealthy, just like so in awe of the accomplishment that I couldn't actually have a conversation with it. But like my favorite Bach recordings are in conversation with you. You listen to Gould play Bach, like it's a pretty radical
we're talking
interpretation. Just rhythmically speaking, people hadn't played it with that kind of rhythmic fidelity.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like a consistent, almost like club-like pulse. You could freaking get a whole room bopping to the first Goldberg variation. The way that Gould plays it, and that was pretty radical at the time. People weren't doing that. Again, there's nothing that we have that says that Bach wouldn't have played it like that. We also have nothing that says Bach wouldn't have played it kind of like lurchingly with all kinds of like push and pull and space that makes it hard to dance to. But but we just don't know. And so you're interacting with those notes on the page. And then I think you owe it to yourself and the greatness of that music to really engage with it with your whole being. And for me, that means taking it down to the studs like I do with everything else, and seeing what happens when I put it back together in good faith. And generally speaking, it's not like I like recomposed it or anything. There's some repeats here and there where I did some pretty compositional ornamentation. But again, not necessarily anything more radical than at least relatively speaking, given our times, than what was expected back then in terms of Baroque period ornamentation. There's a lot of liberties that were taken and intended to be taken by the composer back then. So, I did some risky things with it, in the context of the general conversation, but I don't think anything really riskier in the grand scheme of things than anything that's come before.
What makes you decide a song is complete? Or in your case with Bach, the recording is complete?
Oh, with Bach? Well, yeah. So, again, now with Bach, it's the same as with anything else. It's kind of like, do I honestly goosebumps or no goosebumps? Do you get goosebumps?
Yeah.
Or no, or not?
Yeah.
And I'm glad you do. I wouldn't assume.
Well, the key was using this thing.
I was meaning myself. I was meaning myself. Like, do I get goosebumps? Do I feel like I'm being hurtled through time to where like I get done with the 15 minutes of the show? It's maybe 14 minutes that it takes me to play the Chaconne. Do I get done with them and feel like some weird freaking Flight of the Navigator thing has happened where everyone else is 15 minutes older and I'm the same age? Because like I shouldn't stop until I feel like that it's been like this and that I was hurtled through time and space. Because the first time I encountered the Chaconne, that was my feeling. And the first time I heard Heinrich Schering play the A minor fugue, it's just like, oh my God, I hope this never ends. Like, or like when it's done, it's just like, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Why did it stop? And like that was the exact opposite sense I was having that I was having listening to these early voice memos of me playing. It was like, this is freaking insufferable. It will never end. Like what is like, why does this, this 3-minute performance of the E major Loré, why does it feel to me like it's 30 minutes long? Like, what's happening? Why? And so that I really had to go back to the drawing board in a big way.
How do you usually listen to music? Is it like your phone and your AirPods? Do you?
Oh yeah. I'm ashamed to say it. Like I have a nice stereo that's in boxes. My wife and I've been kind of like chronically moving. And so the stereo's been in boxes for years, honestly, at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, we just can't quite figure out the right thing. I think we got it now. And so I think we'll finally get the thing out of boxes and start listening to music again. But also I need a spot far away from wherever she is, because she doesn't like to listen loud. I like to listen loud.
So you're a stereo guy versus a headphone guy, no?
Well, if left to my own devices, I love hearing it out of good speakers and feeling, but I like headphones too. But I like having a balance, know. It's fun to turn all the lights off.
Yeah.
And be in bed and listen to, a new record.
Be in
like
bed?
in your AirPods. And yeah, I like doing that. Like in that space, there's kind of a other state of being that you can be. That's like, I'm tired. I'm not falling asleep.
Okay.
But I'm like,
but you're lying down.
I'm lying down and I'm gonna fall asleep. Like once I'm done with the record, but I'm in that state right before. I like that state. Maybe it's the people I know who love like getting high and listening to a record. That was never my thing. I mean, I like to have a cocktail or something.
Yeah, sure.
But which I guess is the same thing. But like, that was never my thing. But like that being kind of tired, and listening to a record, maybe is my version of like smoking a joint and listening to a record. I like that, and that strikes me as being a thing that's lovely to do in AirPods or whatever.
Do you leave Atmos on?
Going, I haven't done that.
It's weird, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know.
Is it weird?
I don't know. Well, it depends. So I'll say this. So like I've some people, they mix their music for Atmos and they are signing off on the mix.
Mm-hmm.
I think for listeners, this is actually somewhat new in the industry, where it used to be you had the person who made the music, heard it, and they said, yep. And the person that mixed it, they worked together. But with Atmos, there were some labels that are like, hey, send all this, stuff that we have and get it mixed for Atmos so you can hear it better. But a lot of those mixes, and I won't name names because I'm not here to do that, sound like shit, So there's a handful of artists that, like the Dylan Time Out of Mind newer version, which was the newer remixes of Time Out of Mind, is remastered for Atmos, and it sounds great. It sounds very, very good. But say Coldplay's Rush of Blood to the Head, which is a phenomenal record, probably one of the greatest Coldplay records ever, is not sounding ideal on Atmos.
Oh, dear.
I think there's different sort of experiences for that, but I think some of the best music I've heard on Atmos is generally what people would call, like classical music, or jazz or something like that, because that
makes sense to me.
Yeah, the positions of where things are, you know, and I think also with this, this record, I can hear the room.
Yeah. It's interesting to me that you're kind of preferring the Atmos vibe for, you mentioned,
just some
orchestral things or like jazz combos and things like that. That you're kind of preferring those to more studio oriented records. It makes sense to me because those records are more archival. They're more just like, hey, this is what happened in the room.
Yeah.
And often when I listen to records like that, sometimes I'm like, I mean, of course I can marvel at just how good the music is, but sometimes as a recording, I'm going like, I kind of just wish I'd been there. Like that would have been better.
Well, of course.
If I could have just been in the room, with the Miles Davis Quintet while they were doing this, or with the freaking Berlin Philharmonic playing Mahler 9. Like I wish I'd been in the room, because I bet that would have really been something. So if the Atmos kind of puts you there, like gets you a little closer to that, you still wish you were in the room, but maybe gets you a little closer to that. And that was, whereas I never have that feeling when I'm listening to like Radiohead's Kid A, something that's really taking advantage of the instrument that is the studio. Because then like you getting it out of your AirPods or through speakers, like that is the intended performance
Correct.
medium.
Stereo.
Like that's the medium
Yeah.
that they're working within. And so you're having the experience, and like being in the room in Nigel Godrich's studio, like while they're making Kid A, would not have given you a finished product that would have been that. I mean, of course, it would be amazing to like hear Tom cut a vocal or whatever, but like in terms of the actual art being made, like the record is the freaking art. Like that's the art, and of course, it's incredible to hear them play those songs live. But that's different. That's the live show. And so, to me, it was something I thought a lot about while I was making this record. It's like, am I going to take an archival approach to recording it, where it's like, here's what happened in the room?
Yeah.
Or is there some way that'll feel authentic and sincere for me to use the studio as an instrument? So that when you listen to the record, you're getting the definitive piece of art. And then the live show is its own piece of art.
Yeah.
But instead of trying to like, well, if you couldn't catch the live show, here's what happened in the room,
Yeah.
But like, to me, again, like I have a weird sense of not having been there. And I would like, well, oh, I wish I'd been there. So what could I do that would take advantage of the studio as like, a tool to make art with?
Yeah.
That would feel sincere and authentic coming from me. Like I'm not like I'm an acoustic musician, and I've always had a really organic approach to making music. So like, how do I use the studio in a way that feels, like me? And that's where I came up with the idea to record these pieces in multiple locations. And the record, you'll hear as you go along. So like it starts in a neutral studio location. It's Reservoir Studios. It's one that I have a deeply personal attachment to. I had a workspace there for many years, and when no one was in the big room, I could just practice in there. So it's a place that that really puts me in that, like, I'm practicing Bach the way that one practices yoga or whatever. It puts me in that place, which is something that I wanted to get on tape. But then you'll hear, like in the middle of the D minor chaconne, about halfway through, I edit from a performance in the studio to a performance. Again, there's no live performances. It was just that I recorded them in 4 different locations. And so I edit, seamlessly from at this one point in the chaconne from the studio in Midtown Manhattan to a recital hall in the southwestern corner of Kentucky, at Murray State University. It's called Farrell Recital Hall, and it's the first place that I ever played solo Bach for a live audience. It dredges up a bunch of crazy feelings for me. I was like, I've never been more nervous in my life than I was 17 and like doing this shit on a violin. I could barely play violin, like compared to how I can play mandolin, but that's all they were interested in me doing there at that time. So I was playing it on the violin and like, got through it and all of that. But like, to be back there, it was the first time I've been back in that room. And so it affected the performance. I don't need anyone to know that, I think, for the art to work. But like, all of a sudden, the environment of the recording changes in a way that, isn't possible live. It's like the recording teleports from, of course, you could put an effect in.
Yeah.
But so in that way, it's realizable live. But like, still, the environment you're in is going to have infinitely more to do with what you're hearing than the effect does. You're still going to like see the same musician in front of you doing the same thing. It's funny in a recorded environment for on a recording that's been archival thus far, no effects, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait, did the engineer just like kick some reverb in, or like like just randomly at like 7 minutes into the D minor chaconne, we're like 35 minutes into the D minor partita, and we're at the last minute, and like all of a sudden like some reverb kicks in. And like that, of course, you'd have to be paying pretty close attention and notice it. But like, it does happen, and it tangibly changes. And then we'll go from there back to the studio, and then from the studio to a corner of Tompkins Square Park in the East Village, where like the freaking fugue of city life is swirling around me performing the C major fugue.
Is that where you did that live video that was up on YouTube?
Yeah, that's also, yeah. So that was from the same day.
That's sick, dude.
Thank you.
Sick.
It's fun. It was fun to, so then all of a sudden you're like collaborating with these park going East Villagers.
And nature, man. There's birds and shit on there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, I think there's more dogs on that one. But then that's the third location, or
Right.
fourth location is this gazebo in East Tennessee, this place called Blackberry Farm, where my wife and I got married, and my best friend Rob Moose played the third and fourth movements of the C major sonata. The third movement while she was walking down the aisle, and the fourth after I'd kissed the bride and we walked out together. So we did those movements there, and then I start pretty shamelessly cutting from location to location. Like at the top of the E major prelude, the first phrase is still at Blackberry Farm. And then right on the downbeat of the next phrase, it switches back to Farrell Recital Hall at Murray State. And then then that kind of stuff happens more often, and then even do utilize some studio magic effect wise at a certain point where I was just like my intent, I didn't feel like my intent was coming through the speakers, or even it wasn't like a problem with the performance, it's just like couldn't come through the speakers. It's like a thing that I would show you in a room, like with my body language, or I don't know, like some sort of contextualizing story before I kicked the piece off, whatever. Like I'd find a way to communicate my intent. And so that's when I was like, ooh, the studio can help me communicate this intent through these like thin sheets of paper in your speakers. You know what I mean? Instead of like, if you're in a concert hall with me and I'm on stage and I can like stomp my foot or like move my body and kind of show you visually, like, this is the moment. And you'll feel it with me, because you'll feel the force of like my humanity in the room with your humanity. And like our humanity is coming together to make a moment. It's like sometimes through two little sheets of paper in speakers, like, it's not, you're going to have to find another way to communicate that intent. And so that's why I wanted to start using the studio in some, sort of unconventional ways.
That's incredible. I think
you.
The only thing that's kind of freaking me out a bit is this is so much connected to your life and key things that happen with you in your life that it's sounding like this is like your opus. So, I mean, you're not about to announce you're retiring or anything, no? We're not.
No.
Okay, good.
No, I promise.
All right, that's fine.
I promise. I got lots of music I need to make. But I'll tell you, this experience has been really helpful. And I feel like maybe there've been some personal realizations that wouldn't have been possible, like while I'm writing my own music, like that there's enough of like you're so inside yourself sometimes that you can't see what it is that you're actually doing. Yeah. And so maybe like going through this process with someone else's music, and like I've never felt the urge to like make a whole record that was any one person's music like this before. I mean, you could argue the Punch Brothers record. We did a whole cover. We did a whole record cover of so sorry, it's a weird way to say it. We covered an entire record, top to bottom. Tony Rice's Church Street Blues, but that is itself like a collection of a variety of musicians' music. Like he didn't write any of the stuff on there, so we were really just covering his curatorial.
Well, and it's not Bach.
It's not Bach, no. But Bach, I bring it up just to say that like Bach is maybe the one musician where I felt compelled to like only one person wrote this music, and that one person is not me.
Yeah.
And so I do think it gave like that idea of Bach as a practice, the way that yoga is a practice. It is a way that like it's this sort of like fixed text that you can constantly, it's very helpful to have like something fixed that you can be measuring yourself against, or like how am I coming along here? How am I doing? The Bach isn't changing, it itself is not changing. Like those notes on that page are not changing, but I'm changing all the time. And it's really helpful to, like, I get a better sense for where I am as a human being, as a musician, with Bach than I do with my own music, because I'm still like, I made it. And I hear the way in which it's like fixed on a record, but having made it, it's still growing in my head. And so it's really hard for me to measure myself against it, or like to see how I'm doing, because it's growing with me. I carry it with me. So we made those records of it. And those those performances are frozen in the way that Bach's score is frozen, and that music would not have been frozen for him because he wrote it.
Yeah.
And he could have kept, making subtle revisions to it or changing the way that he would have played it over and over again. And of course, it'd be so interesting for us to
speculate,
somehow,
but yeah,
but we can't. But we only can speculate. I also think that's one of the reasons why sometimes maybe musicians like me don't think to expose it to the like width and breadth of their creativity is that there is this kind of dragon being chased of like, what would Bach have done? Like we can concern ourselves with that theory and like, ooh, maybe I'm the person that's going to get the closest to what Bach would have done. And, that would be a very great service to mankind to know what Bach would have actually done. But then I just don't think anyone could ever know,
Yeah.
And so then it was just, that's why me trying to do that, I finally realized it just didn't sound right.
Well, I mean, from all of this, it sounds like you also like go into a certain mindset and headspace. I'm curious, was there any, did you have like specific clothes that you felt like, this is my recording sweater, this is my crazier sweater for this? Because I will say, you got some very cool kind of loud knitwear that you're always rocking.
Yeah, I got when did that start? It was gradual. I was like, I realized it was actually a little bit like the Bach process. Is I feel like I started seeing pictures of myself. We do in Punch Brothers, we always wear suits.
Yep. You had the 3-piece.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, well, we did do three-piece suits for a little while. And then I got into like my wife was super into APC, the French designer or label.
Yeah.
Whatever. You would know.
Jean Tuitu is the designer, but he's not designing.
Okay.
But
I got you.
But APC was, it was.
So I got into that, but it was like I like how it looks on people. But then, and so there was like the suits, and there was like my buddy, again, I'll bring up Rob Moose, who's like such a dear friend of mine. Like he and I went through a real Mad Men stage where we were just trying to like, buy vintage suits. And so then Punch kind of looked like we just walked off the set of Mad Men and for a while. But again, it was just like, trying shit on. And then my wife loving APC, I was like, yeah, those guys look cool. So I'll try that. But then I realized it was kind of stayed like for me, I'm like I'm a goofy, excitable, freaking like fizzy cola of a human, Yeah,
you need something maybe a little that could express your personality more is what it sounds like.
I needed some colors, some bright colors or like patterns, like stuff that then I started. I tried it out, and I'm particularly obsessed with Paul Smith. I just love that dude's.
Had him on the show.
Style.
Great guy.
What?
Yeah, dude.
You talked to Paul Smith. That's like having Bach on the show for me, man.
No, it is not. Sorry. Yes. Pump the brakes there. No, Paul Smith is a regular dude. Great guy. Genius. Huge. Incredible, amazing person.
Is he a good dude?
Yeah, very, very sweet guy.
Oh.
I had him on. We did the pod. We recorded. And a lot of times, like I just press record and go. Like,
yeah.
What I do is I'll keep like 5 bullet points, but I'm not like, oh, hold on, I need to get to question B. Like we're just going to go. And that was a person like yourself who's done so many interviews that there's almost like okay, hold on, let me shift into interview mode. I have these things I can hit. I can pull from here. I can pull from here. And as we were starting to wrap up, he was like, did you get what you need? And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, I just want to make sure like you felt this was of use to you. And I was like, well, I think so. I was like, yeah, there's a lot of great stuff here. And he's like, well, if you want, I can tell a story about this. You want me to tell a story about Paul McCartney? I was like, no, man. I was like, what are you actually interested in this second? Like, what is making you happy? I was like, it's cool. We don't need the Paul McCartney story, but like, what else do you got? And it was great. And I felt like the moment where him and I like connected better to where I was like, dude, I don't need any of that. Like save that for NPR if you want, or whomever else you're going to talk to. But this is a bunch of folks who just like love clothes and love music and love so you go anywhere you want. But if you're locked in, it's going to sound 1,000,000,000% better. And it was great.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
That's so, I think there was something like for me, just those it started with the socks, of course.
Yeah.
Like those socks felt like that I saw it, and obviously a lot of people feel this way. I have so many friends who wear Paul Smith socks, but then I was like, why should my socks be the only thing that feel that feel fun to me, and so I was trying to find patterns and then, but I'm also really, I get so nervous in clothing stores.
Why?
I don't know.
Chris,
I think
you
I have
are
like
a rock star. We'll put this for the record. You can wear whatever. You're going to be good.
No, it's not about that. It's like this weird. I have a people pleasing instinct.
Fair.
That it's like, I think such is the force of my people pleasing instinct that it's like I realized at a certain point I have to keep it away from music,
Okay.
And so then in the rest of my life, it really kicks in. It's like, okay, you've kept us at bay long enough, you music making son of a bitch. Like now go please all the people all the time. And so, so then when I'm like writing, it's just like, nope, everyone goes away and I got to be true to the audience of one. And then they can come back into the process after that. And so then they come wheeling back, and I'm always worried I'm going to go somewhere and then I'll buy whatever the person, because I don't want them to feel like they gave me a bad recommendation. I'm looking at myself in the mirror. I'm like, I don't like this, but I'm going to buy it anyway because I don't want this person to feel like, you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
And like also like they're the one who spends all their time around clothes, like they know more than me, or like that's what's going through my head. And then so then I like, so even in Paul Smith, I get very like, this is my favorite stuff. I love this stuff. I love the colors. I love the whimsy. It feels, it resonates with me. As do a lot of clothes that I see. But now I know exactly like what Paul Smith sizes fit me. And so I can keep the people pleasing thing at bay and just shop on their website. And I don't, it's like, I'm embarrassed to say it out loud.
No, it's great. Because I think that's a very common thing in which you go to a store, you have 2 or 3 things that you're interested in, you want to try those on, but then Joe Schmo or Cindy Lou Who, whatever you want to say, they come over and they're like, well, put this on. And that is that's like a sales tactic. It's like, put the clothes on the person, because sometimes they're so overwhelmed by what they have on. One, they're in shock at how good they look. Or in your case, you're like, well, I don't want to tick anyone off. And then you leave the store and you're like, shit, why did I get
this thing? Why do I
Someone else needs to return it. It can't be me. I got to make something up. I've done that before.
I've had it happen a lot.
I would blame my kid. I'd blame a partner that didn't exist. I would be like, oh, I got to return this. At one point, I lied.
She didn't like it. She didn't like it. Yeah, she just didn't like it.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, yeah, we completely understand. And at one point, when I was super young and in New York, I was like cruising around. I'd go to some of these stores. I'd go try on some stuff. And I felt like I was a real G. And I remember that was a move my mom would teach me. She's like, go to the store. You're just as, almost like this Pretty Woman moment. Like, you're just as good as anyone else. Go try on whatever you want and see if you like it. And I would do that. And then I would buy it. And then I'd be like, shit, I don't have any money. And so I would go back in the store and I would be like, sorry, my dad, I talked to and they're like, oh, your father? And I'm like, he's a big client. Of course, like my dad's like, not that case at all. He's wearing a bum equipment shirt at, writing a preacher's message.
Wow.
But yeah, it's a good way to kind of get out and to figure out what you like. But you did find some nice, some cool looking sweaters there that you're in the feeling zone.
The sweater thing is so nice. For performing, it doesn't make any sound against the instrument. That's in a recording envirament. That's a big deal. Yeah,
because like your buttons
and shit. Ugh. Yeah. So so like sweaters, and then just you're gonna be there for a while. And I need to like, so even in the dead of summer, like I'm recording in long sleeves because to make sure that my forearms are still like warm. They're just, blood is flowing and I can, and that blood is kind of like making sure that nothing's getting too tight. And, so sweaters are really good for me, like playing. And then on stage, so with Nickel Creek, I would start fucking around with the sweaters.
Yeah.
On stage, I don't know if you remember, like way back in the day. If you and Nickel Creek go back a long time,
boy,
we would look Yeah. Okay. So
yeah.
I'm pretty embarrassed about what we would wear on
Ah,
stage back then. I mean, I mean, I would like, dude, cargo shorts happened on stage at big gigs, like
love
multiple
it.
times for me. And like a Kangol hat. I had a Kangol hat that would
Okay.
happen a fair amount backwards back then.
The Samuel
Um,
L. Jackson, like you were into the zone,
yeah, I
huh?
guess so. I guess so.
Yeah.
I
Po
guess
Buddy's
so.
Norfolk. You're fine.
But yeah. But so I messed around with not wearing a suit, but there is something for me that feels like now I'm going to play a show about putting a suit on. So
Hell yeah.
I'm messing with what I can do with a suit on stage. The buttons still bum me out, and I have to button the lower button of a suit jacket on stage, because there's something about having the lower button unbuttoned that starts hitting the mandolin in a way that doesn't work. Just sonically.
We got to get you into
Again,
bespoke, because then you can just design this stuff and say, I don't want a button here, or it needs to be here.
Yeah, one button suit would be great, actually. Yeah. A one button suit would be great. I'm enjoying now. Again, nothing new, but it's a fun development for me to wear a t-shirt under the suit jacket on stage.
What's the t-shirt?
And so like a really nice. Well, I've got this scribble shirt. Is it with me right now?
Oh, here he goes. He's digging, folks.
I don't know. I don't think I've got it. Here's what I want to wear on stage. I want to wear my cheetah. I want to wear my cheetah hoodie. You see my cheetah hoodie?
Where is this from? This is wild.
You just don't even need to ask. It's all from Paul Smith.
Oh, hey, man.
Look, I called Paul Smith Bach. That there could be no higher praise.
Yeah.
I guess I could say he's like the Roger Federer. That would be another one that I.
Oh, so you're a tennis guy. Tennis that's the cool guy style ever since Challengers. Everyone's.
Really? Oh,
yeah,
man. Well, welcome, everyone. I've been here for a long time.
Yeah, do you feel that? I would say
I love tennis. I was an Agassi guy back in the day.
Now we're talking style.
It was like a lot of, and like my parents, it was McEnroe and Connors. I mean, it was just in like freaking Jim Curry. Jim Courier is in a Nickel Creek music video, by the way. The video for Smoothie Song.
No way.
He's like the quote unquote owner of the music store in that video.
That's sick.
Yeah. Well, a very strange little Easter egg for you. I bet he doesn't remember that, or I hope maybe he does. I would love to like be able to. I dig Courier. Courier doesn't give a fuck, man. He will say anything on camera.
Sounds about right.
Like when he's commentating, I'm kind of into it. Maybe he gives like a half fuck more than McEnroe, but like also there's this world in which maybe McEnroe he kind of understands that that's part of his brand, and so he kind of gives lots of fucks in a way. Yeah. Courier, I just feel like it's just like I'm going to say this, and he does. But yes, no, I adore tennis. It's a big part of my life. I love watching people play high level tennis. I find just eminently inspiring. Like,
do you go to the Open?
Oh yeah, every year, dude. Here's my vibe.
Okay,
Claire and I, we figured it out. This is my wife Claire.
Yeah.
And my little boy Calvin. We go. So I love going on the last day of Armstrong, which is quarterfinals, I think, or I think it's round of 16. And so it's the last time they have men's and women's singles on Armstrong before it all moves to Ash. And so, like, of course, there's amazing tennis played at Ash, but I just don't like Ash very much. It's like
too big.
It's so big, and it's like, unless you're down for like a couple grand like per ticket, it's just not a great viewing experience to me.
Yeah.
And so, like, whereas Armstrong, there's just not a bad seat in the house, and like you can be courtside for, obviously it's still a ton of money, but like if you make a thing out of it, for us it's a big deal. We always want to go to the Open. Anyway, those Armstrong, the last day of Armstrong, it's like usually, like the 31st of August, like 1st of September, right around in there. That I just love that day of tennis, because also it's the last day of men's and women's singles on Armstrong, but it's also the only day that they don't separate the day session and the night session. So it's just a continuous day of tennis. Yeah, and they'll do like 3 or 4 matches, and it's good. It's good tennis. It's not it's not like, of course they're going to put like the absolute highest ticket match at Ash. But anyway, that's what we love. And then we love going to Masters 1000s, like Cincinnati or Indian Wells. Like it's really fun to go to those tournaments as well.
Have you been to Wimbledon?
Oh no, I want to go so bad.
I'm surprised you haven't like played or done any sort of. I mean, because have you done like the Star Spangled Banner or something for a baseball game?
Yeah,
you've done that. That's what
I've done that a little bit for, let's see, Fenway. I did it, Petco, and my aim true love, the Cubs. I did it at Wrigley, which I just still can't believe I got to do that. I haven't gotten to sing the stretch at Wrigley though. That would be that. That would be the real thing.
They got to get you out there. Get the Nutsuch people putting you out there. I mean, baseball's over.
Well, they
now,
got me. Yeah, they got me. I bless them. We did the Star Spangled Banner. And I got to throw a first pitch out at Wrigley.
Wait, so how were you scared?
I threw a strike. I threw a strike, dude.
No
I threw a freaking strike. I've never been more proud of my life. It was like. Yeah, no, it was like getting through I think the first time I got all the way through the Chacon without messing up. That was a big moment.
Yeah.
And throwing a strike at Wrigley Field.
That makes sense. Sounds about right.
It's pretty. I was certainly more nervous about the first pitch than I was about the Chacon.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. That was like an out of body level of like heart rate. Just like, am I going to bounce it up there? Am I going to throw it over the backstop and hurt someone? Like, who knows? Who knows?
I mean, dude, that stuff, this is the thing now, especially with YouTube. To be a musician in the YouTube era, I'm lucky enough, I kind of stopped playing live shows in like 2009 or 10. So no one was really like holding up phones anytime I ever played.
Yeah.
Plus, we would play like Bowery, or Mercury. So it wasn't ever huge spots, but it was decent.
I love both of those rooms, by the way.
Great rooms. Saw you at Bowery.
Yeah. So plenty of Bowerying. I love the Bowery Ballroom.
Yeah. It's a wild room. And it's, I don't know.
What's crazy is that it doesn't sound any good. And yet the vibe is so awesome. So it doesn't matter. Like, it kind of sounds bad in there.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because the crowd brings a very particular, like a Bowery crowd is a good crowd. I've never had a bad crowd at the Bowery. It's always been amazing. Like, the energy in there has always been incredible.
Have there ever been shows, which you don't have to name like the city, where you're like, this is too big, that it because your music, it always feels so intimate, where you're like, dang, like it's difficult for me to kind of vibe off the audience?
Yeah. It's like this. It's like the music Peter principle thing. Like, you reach your level of incompetence. It feels like that, and I think there's it has happened. I mean, like Punch Brothers that doesn't work in an arena. We opened for Dave Matthews for a couple weeks, and it was just like, no way. And,
I'm sure the crowd was into it though.
They were. One rad thing is that Dave would actually come out and introduce us.
Yeah,
so
sure.
The crowd would like snap in, like, whoa, that's freaking Dave. There he is. And he would be like, check out Punch Brothers, everybody, and then he'd leave. And so no, we had their attention. It's just that the music didn't really translate in that kind of environment. And I remember seeing Grizzly Bear at Radio City and kind of wondering.
I was at that show
myself. You were?
Yeah, because Feist came out too. Leslie Feist. Yeah, she came out for part of it.
Holy shit.
Yeah, there was that. Victoria was there from Beach House.
But I had that sense at Radio City, like, it's like it felt too big for that music to me. It was like
very large venue.
I love, like, dude, for Vicatimus to me is like an absolute all-time record. Absolutely. And just top to bottom, man, that is just a glorious piece of like collaborative imagination. And talk about using the studio as an instrument.
Agreed. Yeah.
I wanted to feel more enveloped by the sound live. They played beautifully. It was something about, like, that night, to me, it was just something about the room, and maybe it's a Radio City thing. It's the only thing I've ever seen in Radio City. So it was like something diffuse about it to me that I was kind of thrown off by.
Radio City is a weird venue to play, and as far as I'm aware, if you're a band, it is the least, second to MSG, the least profitable place to play.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because
but fuck, dude, MSG conversely, every show I've ever seen at MSG has crushed. Like it feels
Yeah, there's
so good.
there's no bad shows there.
It feels so good to be there. And I finally got to be on stage at MSG. I sat in with Wolfpack and I'm playing freaking mandolin. This is Madison Square Garden, like Madison Square Garden. I'm playing a mandolin on stage and it sounded awesome.
Oh,
like
sure.
I could hear myself and like took the solo and people are like, woo!
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it. But then so that worked. Those guys doing that crazy thing, or like having me sit in with Dave Koz, I think was there, and so the two of us like soloing together, like freaking little tiny sax and little tiny mandolin and big giant MSG worked, and then of course Rage Against the Machine worked. Obviously, it was like insane. Or like
Rage played MSG.
Yeah, that was like their last. I think that was their last.
Shit!
New York.
Wow.
I went. I took my little boy, Cal, who's like he's a massive Rage head. He loves Rage Against the Machine.
As he should be.
And so I had I think he was 7 at the time. And of course, everyone, we get there and everyone stands immediately up so he can't see anything. So it's like, I've got him up, he was like kind of perched precariously on the armrest of his seat. So mostly like leaning on me. I got my arm around him to make sure he doesn't fall.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like, so here's me, my little 7-year-old. I've got my arms wrapped around my little 7-year-old. And he's like at the top of his lungs, like, get in the name of.
Yeah.
Like this little 7-year-old. This guy turns out this like grizzled Rage fan, like turns around, looks at me, sees Calvin, and he's like, you're doing it right, brah.
You're like, all right, cool, man.
I'm just like, all right, heck yeah.
He's like hitting Calvin's the vape real hard in there.
He's like, it's another bomb track. And his little tiny 7-year-old voice, he's raging so
screams,
hard.
Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me.
He self-edits though.
That's
always.
Fair.
So he will sing along to that at the top of his lungs, but he's always just going to be like, I won't do what you tell me.
Good lad.
I won't do what you tell me. And he just leaves it out and like kind of makes a lunge with his body in where the fuck should be.
Yeah.
And it's just I just burst with pride.
As you should. That's my number one goal is to be, I don't care what happens with my kids' grades, intelligence, whatever this is, we can put it all away, but I want them to be kind people and have good taste in music. And so the number one rule in my car, so we have like Sirius radio, whatever.
Yeah.
And I just leave it on the Beatles station. And
it's not a bad idea.
Dude, it's great. And then we have real talks about it. And we'll talk about all the interpersonal stuff that's going on. She came in through the bathroom window was on. And I'm like, okay, Harry, like, you got to listen to this bass line here. I'm like, this bass line's incredible. But this song was about his house was robbed. I was like, I was like, someone robbed Paul McCartney's house and she took a spoon. And he was just like, and my daughter, who's almost 8, she's losing it. And I'm just connecting all the dots about like the humanity of these individuals, but how good this music is. And then the recording of it, and then we'll talk about. But that's my number one goal with my kids. Like, I don't care, be a music snob, go for it, it's fine.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
his taste, like you do have to kill the father a little bit.
The bar's a little high. Sorry, buddy.
He was like he is definitely he loves EDM. Like that's the center of his world. It's like kind of like Skrillex is kind of the center of his world. And bless him, I've learned a lot listening to those Skrillex records. There's this one, so the second to last one's called Quest for Fire. Did you hear that record?
No, I will be honest. I
very cool.
I'm pretty snobby. I probably skip Skrillex on accident.
Yeah, man, check in.
Good God, on the record, Chris Thile recommending Skrillex.
Yeah, Quest for Fire. It is a pretty serious work, I have to say. The guy can prepare a moment. So it's like one thing that can wear me out about a lot of music these days. This is an observation that is by no means confined to electronic dance music. There's a lot of 4-bar phrases in the world right now. Like it's gonna go. The thing's gonna go. And here comes the next phrase. Now, like this is the first time in the history of humanity that we've been allowing our musical imaginations, or that we've been confining our musical imaginations to 4-bar phrases this regularly. And it has to do with making music on computers. Those programs, it's so
There it
much
is.
easier. It's so much easier
Well, GarageBand
to
defaults
make
to
music.
4/4, so a lot of people
Absolute
don't
defaults
realize
to
that. Yeah.
4/4 and on a grid, and then it's just like 4-bar phrases, 4-bar phrases, 4-bar phrases. And so that, what was interesting to me is Skrillex rarely, so the on Quest for Fire, there's rarely a phrase that's not in 4 bars, but he'll find a way. We all know the drop is coming. We know it's been telegraphed. We know it's coming, right?
Yeah,
And he'll
yeah.
still find a way to surprise us with it, and like make it nothing, no music is truly satisfying if it's not also surprising. Because
Oh,
like it's like a punchline that like a joke isn't funny if you know the punchline.
yeah.
Like it has to set you up to expect a certain thing, and then it delivers a different thing that's better than the thing that you imagined. And so like when you're working in that medium that is kind of, you know, defined by 4-bar phrases and like these beat drops that you can see, like that the whole room knows it's coming, and they know they're gonna like dance a little harder once it happens. You know, how are you gonna make that really hit? It's an art, and it's an art that guy has perfected. And so it's like I find myself thinking about that when I'm making my music, and like it impacted the Bach. And that like, so a moment is coming, and I'm trying to prepare this moment. And so now Skrillex is part of my toolkit
This is crazy.
in terms of like, here comes a moment,
Yeah, yeah.
and like how does one prepare this moment so that when that moment hits, the listener is just like, oh, that it's like it sets you up for that thing where you expect a certain thing, and then the artist delivers something better. Like that's what everything is about. The same as a comedian, the same as a novelist.
Yeah.
It's like you think this is coming, and then the delight when you're wrong about that, because like what's actually coming is better. You're always working on that kind of thing as a durational, as someone who works in durational art.
Oh man, that's so good. So good. Well, you know, before we wrap, like, are there any other things that you see yourself looking to kind of ascend post this Bach peak? I mean, do you see yourself doing scores, or?
Oh,
I mean, because I will say this, you're in a very great position as a musician, into which you kind of don't need to prove yourself anymore. You know, like you did it, and you know, have established an incredible career as the best mandolin player, but also a very good musician otherwise. So do you see yourself doing like, maybe I want to do this, or maybe I want to?
well, there's one thing that I had a pretty consistent obsession with long form narrative in music in the last few years. That I wrote my first crack at it is this piece called Attention, that's for me and an orchestra. And it's like 45, 50 minutes long.
Wow.
And it tells the story of me meeting, it's a true story of me meeting Carrie Fisher at a rooftop bar at a retail merchants convention in the mid 2000s. And so it's like my best story. It's like the craziest thing that ever happened to me. And I was humming and hawing about it. I had a buddy, Eric Jacobson, he's incredible conductor. He's the music director of the Knights and the Virginia Symphony Orchestra and Orlando Philharmonic, and he wanted me to do a thing, and I'd put it off because I'd written a mandolin concerto a long time ago and kind of felt like the orchestra's not my voice. That's not like my. I can do it. I know.
You've taken the mandolin out of the orchestra your whole career. You know,
that's right.
Yeah.
But like I know how to. I kind of know how to write for orchestra, but just felt like, but I write for string band better. So I should do that. But then I started wondering, I kind of want to try it again. And then that story came to me because it was this, it's the story I tell, and I know how to tell it. And then I felt like all of a sudden I could hear it. I could hear musicalizing it in an orchestral context. I started hearing the music in my head. And so then I was like, Eric, I got something for you. It's a little weird, but what do you think about this? And he listened to the pitch and was like, hell yeah, let's do that. So yeah. So that's been happening, and I want to do more. It doesn't need to be orchestral, although I do have another. Now I want to try and tell someone else's story in a similar way. And there's this extraordinary short story written by George Saunders, who's just I think one of the greatest living authors, and kind of like empathy incarnate, and which, I think is a trait that's in, a woefully short supply at the moment. And he wrote this story called Fox 8 that I want to musicalize. And doing it with my wife is an unbelievable, she's I would say a master of narrative, and she directed Attention, which is what that Carrie Fisher story piece is called. And so she and I are working on this together as well. I haven't broken ground on the composition yet. But that's coming. And that'll also be in the orchestral world. But yeah, there's a fully instrumental Punch Brothers record coming. We've never done that, which is so strange to me, because it's a project that I think probably one of the first things that people who know us would say about us is that we're good at playing our instruments, but we've never actually done that before. There's always been vocals involved, and so it felt like time. But yeah, I think one of the things that I want to figure out is, so there's this the great British composer Benjamin Britten wrote an opera called Peter Grimes. And the sense the feeling I have when I finish a listen down to Peter Grimes, it's like 2.5 hours, and it's scintillating. And the story is incredible, and it's one of those, it's a story that just asks so many questions of us. There's that incredible Mary Oliver poem that talks about how, like, for the person with questions, there's music. Music is so good at asking questions. It's usually shit at providing answers. And I feel like Peter Grimes is just like one of the all-time, like, long form narrative question marks, and like shows like, music is so good at, look at all the gray in the world. Like, listen to all this gray. And like that veil that music places between us and words is so helpful, like with questions and opening up statements to the listener, like so that the listener can kind of inject themselves into the statement and kind of rearrange it and get something that they need to get out of it, and that's different for every person that would come in contact with it. Instrumental music is always great at that, it's because it's like it's abstract expression. There's not actual words attached to it that are meaning very specific things. It could mean very specific thing to whoever wrote it. When I write an instrumental, it might mean something very specific to me, or the solo violin music from Bach might have meant something very specific to him, but I can get what I need to out of it, and so can you. And so I love how Peter Grimes tells a very specific story, and yet music, that power of abstraction that music kind of lends to any words that it accompanies, is so intact. And I find that work to be endlessly inspiring, and something like I it's not that I want to write something that sounds like that, but I want to write something that makes me feel like that, and that potentially sort of engages and empowers my listener the way that piece engages and empowers me. So that's floating off somewhere. And and again, I'm like, so Attention is like a step on the way to that thing. And I think Fox 8 is a step on the way to that. And they're destinations in their own rights. But I have to, we write these things that open doors to other things. And I have something like that just off. It's in my inner ear, taking slow but definite shape.
Amazing. Well, Chris, I thank you so much for being so generous with your time and everything.
This was so fun, though, dude.
Was it
Jeremy,
good?
Like, what a freaking delight. You're right.
Thank you again. It's a huge honor. So I really appreciate it.
Dude, thank you, Jeremy.
You've been listening to Blamo. Our show is produced by Blamo Media. We're edited by Amar Lowell, and our theme music, as always, by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. If you like what you heard, you know the drill. Share the pod with a friend. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars or thumbs up on whatever other thing you're listening to us on, whether it's Dingledorp or Bing Bong, whatever it's called. But you can also follow us on Instagram for all the hot content. If you want to talk to us and give us your hot take, we'd love to hear from you. You can send us an email at info@blamopod.com, last but not least, super ultra important. If I had a air horn, I would press it right now. You got to come and join us over on Patreon because the fun never stops over there. Look, the live show, the free show, whatever you want to call this, we take breaks here and there, but Patreon, it never stops. And we also got exclusive shows like Die Workwear, hosted by Derek Guy and Peter Zotolo, and the Triple J Show, hosted by yours truly with John Moy and Gene DeLeon. There's just a ton of stuff over there. So check it out at patreon.com/Blamo. If not, no worries. We got hundreds and hundreds of free episodes in the feed and more to come. So we will see you all soon.